Hello girls, so now we are going to see unit 4, which is portfolio analysis, and again in this unit we have two parts. Okay, so first we will discuss part 1. Okay, for that synopsis are, first we will see what is the meaning of portfolio, then we will see the meaning of portfolio management, then we will see the meaning of portfolio analysis, then we have traditional versus modern portfolio analysis, then we will do return on portfolio, which includes problems, and then we will do risk on portfolio, which includes problems. Then we will see diversification on investment, and the last one is security analysis, and we will see perfectly positively correlated, perfectly negatively correlated, and uncorrelated. Okay, this is the synopsis for your unit 4 part 1. So first in your synopsis is meaning of portfolio. So we will study this with an example, girls. Okay, say you have a saving of 10 lakhs rupees with you. Okay, so obviously there is a chance that you will invest either in a land, that is nothing but a capital asset, or you will invest in a financial asset. Okay, examples for financial assets are shares, debentures, etc. Okay, another important point to be noted is that investment management purely concentrates on the financial assets, girls. Okay, so it purely concentrates on the financial assets. So obviously we know financial assets are shares, debentures, etc. Okay, so whenever I take any example, obviously it will relate only to your financial assets, not for the capital assets. Okay, now we'll come back to the example. So I have 10 lakhs rupees with me, right? So from the investor's point of view, obviously I'm not going to invest the entire 10 lakhs in one company, right? Because see, if that company's share price increases, yes, my 10 lakhs will become 20 lakhs or 30 lakhs. But if the share price of that company decreases, okay, obviously I'm going to lose my entire 10 lakhs. So instead, the investors will try to invest maybe 2 lakhs in ABC company, remaining 3 lakhs, 3 lakhs in CBA company, and remaining 5 lakhs in XYZ company. So in this way, what happens? See, if I get a loss in this company, right, I can at least get some returns from CBA or XYZ company. Or if I get any loss in these two companies, there is a chance that I may get a return in XYZ. See, this is what diversification is, girls. See, instead of investing in one company, I am diversifying my investment. If you remember, girls, in unit 3 part 2 we studied systematic and unsystematic risk, right? In that we have seen the term diversification, and there also I mentioned that we will study in detail in unit 4, right? So this is what diversification is. See, instead of investing in one security, I am diversifying it. Okay, so like the 10 lakhs, I am investing 2 lakhs in one company, 3 lakhs in another company, and the remaining 5 lakhs in XYZ. Okay, so if I invest the entire 10 lakhs in one company, obviously I have 100% risk here. But if I diversify, it means I am reducing the risk. Okay, this is what diversification is. Okay, and portfolio is also nothing but, girls, instead of investing in one security, I am investing in more than one security. That is what portfolio is. So meaning of portfolio is nothing but investing in a group of securities. We saw the example, right? Instead of investing the entire 10 lakhs in one company, I invested 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, and 5 lakhs in 3 different companies. So the group of securities, we call it as a portfolio. So see the second point, creation of portfolio obviously helps to reduce the risk without sacrificing any returns. See, if I invest the entire 10 lakhs, yes, obviously I may get return or I may not get the return at all. But here I am reducing the risk, and at the same time I am getting returns as well, right? Next, third point is that an investor who understands the fundamental principle and aspects of portfolio management has a better chance of success. So the investor should know the basic principle okay, and as well as the aspects of how to manage the portfolio, then there is a chance that he may succeed when he is investing in the financial assets. So this is all about the meaning of portfolio, girls, and this is not a part of your syllabus. Okay, this is just to understand the meaning of portfolio, because the unit 4 is portfolio analysis. So without understanding the meaning of portfolio, we cannot study the portfolio analysis. So this is meaning of portfolio. Now we are going to see meaning of portfolio management. Meaning of portfolio management. This is not there in your syllabus, girls. So before starting your unit 4, that is portfolio analysis, first you should understand what is the meaning of portfolio and what is portfolio management. Then only we can understand what is portfolio analysis. Okay. Now see the first point. Portfolio management helps in creation and maintenance of a portfolio. So it teaches us steps like how you have to create a portfolio. Okay, now we saw an example right earlier, like I have 10 lakhs rupees with me. So instead of investing in one company, I invested 2 lakhs in one company, 3 and 5 lakhs in two different companies, right? So portfolio management only teaches us like how you have to allocate the funds, right? See, portfolio is like limited only to investing in group of securities, but portfolio management only will teach us like how you have to allocate the funds. Okay, what is the risk for that particular security or a portfolio, what is the return for the particular security or a portfolio. All this we will learn in portfolio management, but portfolio management is not there in our syllabus. Okay, now see the second point, girls. We have total 5 stages in performance management. For portfolio management, there are total 5 steps or stages. First one is the security analysis, second one is portfolio analysis, third one is portfolio selection, fourth one is portfolio revision, and the last one is portfolio evaluation. Okay, these are the 5 steps. So if we follow these 5 steps, obviously we will create a best portfolio. And obviously we know if we create a portfolio, it is more rewarding and less risky. Okay, so if you see the second point, in that we have portfolio analysis and selection, right? That is there in your syllabus, and the remaining security analysis, portfolio revision, and portfolio evaluation is not there in your syllabus. Okay, so I'll just give an introduction of all these 5 steps, girls. Okay, security analysis is nothing but I'm calculating risk and return for each and every security. Okay, securities is nothing but shares, debentures, etc. So for one particular security, I am calculating the return and risk. Okay, and I am analyzing that security. So whenever there is analysis, girls, it means you are calculating risk and return for that. Okay, so obviously we know how do I calculate return, which is nothing but current return plus your capital return, and risk, obviously I calculate the standard deviation. Okay, next one is the portfolio analysis. Say portfolio analysis is, say I am calculating a risk and return for the entire portfolio. Okay, so portfolio means there are more than one security. So I'm calculating the return for that entire portfolio, and I'm calculating risk for that entire portfolio. And then portfolio selection. So I have analyzed the portfolio, right? So after analyzing, I will select which portfolio I have to choose for investing. And then a portfolio revision, yes, whatever I have selected, I will just recheck it, and finally I will evaluate it, that is I will invest. Okay, this is the basic intro of the 5 steps in your portfolio management, girls. Okay, so see the last point, it is a complex process which tries to make investment activity more rewarding and less risky. See here they are mentioning it is a very complex process. Obviously it's a complex process because we have so many calculations. Yeah, return I use mathematical techniques. For calculating risk I use statistical technique. It's a very big process, but eventually if I follow portfolio management, what happens is I get a return, and at the same time the risk is also very less. So we know the more the risk we take, the more the return we get, right? But portfolio management helps by giving more return by reducing the risk. This is what the introduction of your portfolio and portfolio management, girls. Now we are going to unit 4, that is portfolio analysis. So the next in your synopsis is portfolio analysis skills, and this is purely your unit 4. Okay, now first we will see what is the meaning. Portfolio analysis consists of identifying the range of possible portfolios, okay, that can be constituted from a given set of securities, and calculating risk and return for further analysis, right? Okay, girls. So earlier we saw the 5 steps in the portfolio management, right? So first one is security analysis. Second one is a portfolio analysis. And again, I said whenever there is a term analysis, it means we are going to calculate risk and a return for that. Okay. So the first step is security analysis, right? See, we know, girls, there are so many securities available in the market, right? And I'm not going to invest my money in all those securities. So depending upon the amount, that is the money I have, and depending upon the risk that I'm going to take, whether it can be low or a high or a moderate risk, I will be investing, right? So example, depending upon the money I'm planning to invest, I'm selecting 10 securities, girls. Okay, I'm selecting 10 securities. So our first step in portfolio management is security analysis. So for that 10 securities, I'm going to calculate risk and return for each and every security. Okay, by doing security analysis, okay, I have brought the 10 securities to 5 securities. Okay, I have brought the 10 securities to 5 securities. Okay, the second step is the portfolio analysis. So after selecting the securities, I will be creating a portfolio. Okay, what is portfolio? Investing in a group of securities, we call it as a portfolio. See, only with that 5 securities, I can create n number of portfolios, girls. Like example, portfolio 1, I can invest in security 1, security 3, and security 5. Okay, in portfolio 2, I can invest in security 2, security 4, and security 5. Portfolio 3, yeah, I can invest in security 1, security 2, security 3. Like that, I can create n number of portfolio. That is what they are saying in the definition. Portfolio analysis consists of identifying the range of possible portfolios. So there are n number of possible portfolios, okay, that can be constituted from a given set of securities. Okay, that I am taking it from the security analysis. See, from 10 I have brought to 5, and from that 5 securities I am creating a number of portfolios and calculating risk and return for further analysis. So after creating the portfolios, after creating the possible portfolios, I am going to calculate a risk and return for that particular portfolio. That is what portfolio analysis does, meaning calculating risk and return for that portfolio. That is what portfolio analysis. Okay. See the second point, there are total 2 approaches, girls, in portfolio analysis. One is the traditional approach, the other one is the modern approach. Now we are going to study the difference between traditional approach and the modern approach. The next in your synopsis is a traditional versus modern portfolio analysis, girls. So we just saw, right, there are 2 types of approach. Okay, one is the traditional approach, the other one is the modern approach. Okay, so we will study, okay, based on the style of functioning, and the next one is the measurement of risk. Okay, now first we will see the style of functioning under traditional approach. Okay, so see the first point, traditional portfolio analysis has been a subjective nature. Okay, it is purely subjective in nature, and again they are saying it has provided success to some people. See, in traditional approach, what they do is that they try to analyze risk and return for each and every individual security. Okay, by that way, what they do, they will try to maximize the return and minimize the risk. Okay, so see the second point, that is for that they have 2 major decisions are concerned under traditional approach. One is determining the objectives of the portfolio, and the second one is selection of securities in the portfolio. Okay, see what did I say? In traditional approach, they calculate risk and return for each and individual securities based on 2 major decisions. One is by determining the objectives of portfolio. So like, what is the objective of portfolio? Whether you are investing in a current income, that is nothing but you're investing in a current return based investment, or you're investing in any capital appreciation like purchasing any land or anything, or you're trying to preserve your capital, which is nothing but similar to your capital appreciation. First, you should determine your objective of the portfolio, and then second one is selection of securities in the portfolio. Depending upon the objective of your portfolio, you will be selecting the securities. So if you're going for any current based income, current based return, so you will be selecting shares or debentures, etc. And at the same time, if you are a low risk taker, you will go for fixed deposit. If you are a high risk taker, again you will go for any investment in shares, right? Or if you are planning for a capital appreciation, obviously you will be selecting by purchasing a land. So depending upon the objective of the portfolio, you will be selecting the security. Now see this third point, it analyzes individual security by evaluation of a risk and return conditions for each and every security. Okay, this is a normal in nature, guys. Like how did we calculate risk and return in the unit 3, right? That is the traditional approach. Now we are going to see the modern portfolio analysis. Okay, now we will see modern portfolio analysis, girls. See here what they are saying is that, see, if you try to combine the securities and if you study the relationship between those securities, you can achieve success. That is what they are saying in the modern portfolio analysis. See, under traditional analysis, they are talking only about the individual securities, calculating risk and return, all those. But here what they are saying, if you combine the security and if you study the interrelationship between those securities, you can achieve success. That is what they are saying here. Now see the point, girls. B point, modern portfolio believes in maximization of returns through combination of securities. Okay, the modern portfolio studies the relationship between different securities and draws the relationship of risk between them. Okay, for that he is explaining here in the next line. The theory states that, okay, by combining a security of a low risk with another security of a high risk, success can be achieved. So another important point and a modern approach is that, girls, we have various theories for analyzing. Okay, see, normally we know analyzing means calculating risk and return, but under modern portfolio we have various theories like Markowitz model, Sharpe index model. So we have various theory, but in unit 4 part 2 we will be studying about the Markowitz model, girls. Okay, that is again your modern approach. Okay, now we will see the second point, that is measurement of risk. See, under traditional approach, obviously when I'm measuring risk, I follow standard deviation. So if my standard deviation is less, it means my risk is less. If my standard deviation is more, it means my risk is more. That is how we calculate standard deviation. Okay, for knowing the risk. Okay, but under modern portfolio, they are saying that risk can be reduced only by diversifying it. Okay, we saw the meaning of diversification, right? Instead of investing in one security, if I invest in more than one security, I will reduce the risk. That is what modern approach is. Okay, thinking about the measurement of a risk. Okay, see the second one, that is a modern theory view the measurement of risk by diversification. In that way, risk can be reduced. The theory of diversification was based on the research work by Harry Markowitz. That's it, girls. Okay, so this is all about the difference between the traditional approach and the modern approach. Traditional approach is a normal approach, like calculating risk and return for each and every individual security, and when you're measuring the risk, you're following standard deviation. Whereas modern approach says that you have to study the interrelationship okay, between the two securities. In that way you can achieve the success, and the risk can be measured only by diversifying it. Okay, under modern approach we have various theories, and one of the theories is the Markowitz model, which we will be studying in part 2 of your unit 4. The next in your synopsis is return on portfolio, girls, and obviously we know return is nothing but the reward which we are getting for the investment. Okay, and return is nothing but current return with your capital return, but return on portfolio concentrates more on the expected return, girls. So again we know expected return is nothing but returns we will multiply with the proportions, we get the expected return. And if you remember, we studied in unit 3, that is under the head ex ante, right? Okay, now see the first point, girls. Portfolio return is the monetary return experienced by the holder of a portfolio. Yeah, obviously return is nothing that we get in a monetary basis, right? Second one is portfolio return can be calculated on a daily basis or on a long term basis. Third one, generally there are two types of return generated by the financial assets. Obviously, what are the two things? One is current return, the other one is the capital return. That is what I have written here. Okay, the next point is the expected return on portfolio is a weighted average of the expected return. See here, they are saying that expected return is nothing but the weighted average of the return. Weighted average is nothing but the proportion. Okay, now see the next point. That is the weights are the proportion of the assets. Okay, so the next point is the formula, girls. It is ERP, which is nothing but expected return of portfolio, is equals to W1 ER1 plus W2 ER2. So weights 1 into ER1, which is expected return for security 1, plus weights 2 into expected return for security 2. Okay, and this formula is for the portfolio which is having only two assets. This formula is for the portfolio which is having only two assets. That is the reason W1 and W2 and ER1 and ER2. Okay, so ERP is equals to expected return on portfolio. W1 is the proportion of the portfolio invested in security 1. W2 is the proportion of a portfolio invested in security 2. ER1 is expected return on security 1 and ER2 is expected return on security 2. Okay, now we will see the formula if there are more than two securities in a portfolio. Okay, if there are more than two securities in a portfolio, this is the formula we have to follow, girls. So RP, which is nothing but return on portfolio, is equals to N, sum of I is equals to 1, XI RI. Okay, this is the formula which we studied in your unit 3, which is nothing but X is your weights and RI is nothing but the returns. And whenever you have this N, sum of I is equals to 1, which means that N numbers. Okay, so in a security in a portfolio, it can be minimum of 2, maximum of so many, right? So example, if it is 20, so we will be calculating returns with the proportion for all the 20 securities. So R1 is the return on portfolio, girls. XI is proportion of funds invested in securities, and then RI is expected return on securities, and N is the number of securities. Okay, now we will see one problem. Okay, it's very easy. We have done in unit 3. We will just go through the problem. Given below is the information relating to the security L and security M. Okay, so they have given state of nature, probability of occurrence, returns for security L and returns for security M. So obviously we know we have to do separately for security L and we have to do separately for security M. First we will do for security L, girls. Okay, now we can see the solution, the next line. Calculation of expected return for security L. So states of nature, probability they have given, and returns also they have given. Just multiply the probability with the returns. So for state of nature 1, it is 0.2 into minus 10, you get minus 2%. 0.5 into 5, you get 2.5. 0.1 into 20, you get 2%. 0.2 into 6, you get 1.2%. So total expected return for security L is how much? 3.7%, right? So same like how you calculated in unit 3, girls. So this is a continuation of the same problems, girls, because in that problem they said for security L and M, right? So we just saw for L, now it is for M. So first column is state of nature, probabilities they have given, returns they have given. Just multiply that, you will get the expected return for security M. Okay. So in short, expected return is nothing but a return with the probabilities, we get the expected return. That's it. Okay, we will see one more question, girls. Calculate the expected return of a portfolio comprising two securities. So he's asking to calculate the expected return for a portfolio for two securities. Okay, assuming that the weights are 0.75 for security 1 and 0.25 for security 2. The expected return for security 1 is 18% and expected return for security 2 is 22%. Obviously they have given everything. We have to just put those ingredients and we have to cook. That's it. So expected return is ERP is equals to W1 ER1 plus W2 ER2. So weights 1 is 0.75 into R1 is 18 percentage, and weights 2 is 0.25 into 22 percentage. So you get 19 percentage. That's it. So before problem it was in a table form, and here it is in a paragraph form. That is the only difference, girls. Okay, now we will see one more problem. Okay, the third question. From the following information, calculate portfolio expected return. Okay, so they have given you 4 stock. In a portfolio, there are total 4 stock, A, B, C, and D. And they have given market value for that stock, 15,000, 20,000, 80,000, 60,000. Along with that, they have given even the total. Okay, and the next column they have given you returns, 10 percentage, 15 percentage, 20 percentage, and 5 percentage. See, normally we know, girls, expected return is calculated by multiplying returns with the proportion, right? But in the question they did not give you proportion here. They did not give you weights, so it means we have to calculate the weights. Okay, it is very simple, girls. Now see the solution. Okay, next table, stock we have A, B, C, and D. Okay, then we have market value slash weights, right? So weights is nothing but you have for stock A, the market value is 15,000. So 15,000 divided by the total. This is how we calculate the proportion, girls. See, for stock A, 15,000 is the market value, divided by the total is 1,75,000. Okay, for stock B, market value is 20,000. Okay, and the total is 1,75,000. So 20,000 divided by 1,75,000, we get 0.114. For stock C, the market value is 80,000, divided by 1,75,000, you get 0.457. And for stock D, market value is 60,000, divided by 1,75,000, we get 0.342. So once we get the proportion, and once we have the return, if I multiply that, I will get my expected return. That's it. So if you multiply weights with the return, you get the expected return, and the expected return for this problem is 13.15 percentage. That's it, girls. This is the possible problems you get it from the return on portfolio. The only thing we are studying in portfolio analysis is the expected return, which is nothing but a multiplication of your returns with the proportion. If proportion is not given, just take that particular value divided by total, you get the proportion. And another important point, girls, proportion should always have a total of 1. Okay, proportion is nothing but we just saw an example, right? Again, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, and 5 lakhs. It is nothing but, see, out of 10 lakhs, I am investing 20 percentage in one company, 30 percentage in one company, and 50 percentage in another company. Instead of writing in percentages, I am writing it as a probabilities. That's it, girls. Okay, so this is all about your return on portfolio. Now we will start with the risk on portfolio. So the next in your synopsis is a risk on portfolio, girls. So obviously we studied this earlier, right? That is in your unit 3 part 2. So obviously to calculate risk, we use a statistical technique, which is nothing but the standard deviation. The same thing we are going to see here. Okay, see the first point, girls. The variance of return and standard deviation of the return are the two statistical measures that are used for measuring the risk in investment, right? Okay, the second point is that the variance or the standard deviation of an individual security measure the riskiness of a security in an absolute sense. So they are saying that standard deviation and the variance gives the actual picture of the risk, okay, in an investment. Okay, and apart from that, when you're calculating risk in a portfolio, right, we have to consider the risk for each and every security. Then only we can calculate risk for the portfolio. That is what they are saying in point 3. Okay, and another important point is under risk, apart from standard deviation and variance, we should also consider 2 more things, girls. One is covariance, the other one is the correlation. See, apart from standard deviation, apart from your variance, we should also consider correlation and covariance. Okay. Now we will see covariance, girls. So it is a statistical measure that indicates the interactive risk of the security. See, by calculating the covariance, I will come to know the interactive risk of that security. Okay, see, this is what modern portfolio analysis teaches, girls. That is like studying the relationship, that is studying the interrelationship between the securities. Okay. So by interactive risk is nothing but, girls, it will see the movements of the security, like how the return of one security moves with the return of other security, and how it contributes to the overall risk of that portfolio. Okay, that is what interactive risk is. Okay. Under covariance we have positive covariance, negative covariance. See, positive covariance is nothing but, okay, when the two securities moves in the same direction, we call it as a positive covariance. When the two securities moves in the opposite direction, we call it as a negative covariance. Okay. So covariance in simple, it is nothing but it studies the interactive risk between the securities. Now we will see the formula, girls. So this is the formula for covariance. Okay, we have for ex post and we have for ex ante. If you remember, ex post we used to calculate average return, and ex ante we will be calculating the expected return. Okay, if it is ex post, okay, covariance AB is equals to sum of RA minus RA bar into RB minus RB bar, the whole divided by n. Okay, my RA bar or RB bar is nothing but we are calculating the average. Since it is an ex post, we are calculating average, and RA is nothing but the returns. RB is nothing but returns for security B. Now see the explanation. COV, that is covariance between the returns on stock A and B. N is the number of years. RA is the return of security A. RB is the return on security B. RA bar is average return, because it is an ex post, so obviously we will be calculating average return. RB bar is nothing but average return of security B. Now we will see the formula for ex ante, girls. It is covariance AB is equals to sum of RA minus ERA. ERA is nothing but the expected return for security A. RB minus ERB, which is nothing but expected return for security B. The formula is same. Here we calculate average return, here we calculate the expected return. That's it, girls. This is all about your covariance. So now we will see correlation, girls. See the first point. Covariance show only the direction of the relationship between the returns of the two securities, either positive or negative. We know that, we just saw earlier. But the correlation tells not only the direction but also the intensity, whether it is a high, low or moderate. Okay, so by calculating correlation, I will come to know whether it is a high risk, low risk or moderate risk. Okay, see the second point. Generally, correlation is measured on the scale of -1 to 1. Okay, so by using the formula of correlation, we get that is from -1 to 1. Okay, see, if the correlation between the securities is 1, it means it is perfectly positively correlated, girls. Okay, if the correlation between the securities is -1, then it is perfectly negatively correlated. And if the correlation between the securities is 0, it means there is no correlation between the two securities. That is what correlation is telling us. Now we will see the formula, girls. Okay, this is the formula, girls. That is RAB is equals to covariance of AB divided by standard deviation of A and standard deviation of B. So to know correlation, first we should know covariance, and we should also calculate standard deviation. Then only we can see whether it is high risk or low risk or moderate risk. So RAB is covariance of AB divided by standard deviation of A and standard deviation of B. If you remember, we learned standard deviation earlier, right? By using that formula, we will calculate standard deviation A and B. And covariance, we just saw this formula. That is sum of RA minus RA bar into RB minus RB bar divided by n in case of ex post. And in case of ex ante, we will calculate the expected return. That's it. So this is a formula of correlation, girls, and this point is very important. Okay, the correlation coefficient may range from -1 to 1. Normally it ranges from -1 to 1. Okay, if R is equals to 1, it means perfect positive correlation between the returns of two securities. If R is -1, we just saw, right, perfect negative correlation between the returns of the security. If R is between 0.1 to 0.3, it means low positive correlation between the two securities. If it is between 0.4 to 0.6, it means moderate positive correlation. If it is between 0.7 to 9, it means high positive correlation. If it is minus 1, minus 0.1 to minus 0.3, it is low negative correlation. When r is equals to minus 0.4 to minus 0.6, it means moderate negative correlation. And the last one is if r is minus 0.7 to 0.9, it means it is a high negative correlation between the returns of two securities. Okay, this is just for the understanding, girls, but what you have to know is that r1, okay, r1 is important, r2 is important, and r0, girls, r0 is nothing but a correlation of 0, means that there is no correlation between these two securities. That's it. This is all about your correlation. Now we will see one problem which includes covariance, correlation, standard deviation, and expected return as well. Okay, we just saw expected return and standard deviation, girls. Now we are going to see the covariance between L and M. So the formula is it is sum of P into R1 minus ER1 into R2 minus ER2 divided by P. Okay, since we have probability, we are multiplying with P and we are dividing by P. Otherwise, we will just divide only by N. Okay, so R1 minus ER1 we already calculated, which is nothing but your deviation. That is what I have written. That is what it is written here. Minus 13.7, 1.3, 16.3 and 2.3. And the R2 minus ER2 again already they have done, that is 10.1, 0.1, 5.1 and minus 12.9. We just need to multiply these two. So if you multiply minus 13.7 into 10.3, you get minus 138.37. 1.3 into 0.1, it is 0.13. Likewise, you have to multiply these two columns. Okay, you get dl into dm. Okay, with that I will multiply the probability. That is what the formula says, right? Probability into these two. Okay, so if I multiply these value with the probability, I will get minus 27.674, 0.065, 8.313 and minus 5.934. So we get the total of minus 25.23. So this value we will substitute in the formula. It is 25.23 divided by 1, because the formula says divided by the probability. So divided by 1, you get the probability as 25.23. This is how we calculate the covariance. Okay, and the last part of the question is the correlation of L and M. Okay, so correlation formula is covariance of L and M divided by standard deviation of L and standard deviation of M. See, we know the covariance for L and M is 25.23. So they have written here, divided by standard deviation of L is how much, girls? It is 8.13. And standard deviation of M, it is 7.50. So if you substitute these values in the formula, you get a minus 0.405. Now we will see one problem relating to ex post, girls, which is nothing but the average return. Stock A and B had the following returns over the past 5 years. So years they have given you, and security A returns they have given, security B returns they have given. And the question they asked you to calculate average returns, risk for A and B, covariance and correlation between A and B. See, in this question they asked you risk. Risk is nothing but calculating the standard deviation. Okay, so average return, obviously we know, right? So first we will calculate the average return. So average is nothing but total divided by 5, total divided by 5. So you get average return as 4% and 5%. So next in the question they asked you to calculate risk for A and B. Risk is nothing but the standard deviation. Since we don't have probabilities in this, so your formula will be sum of d square divided by n. So only thing we have to calculate is d and d square. In this kind, d is nothing but r minus of your average return. Okay, so r is 5 and minus of your average return is 4. So 5 minus of 4 is 1, 10 minus of 4 is minus 10 minus of 4 is 14, 15 minus 4 is 11, 4 minus 4 is 0 and 6 minus 4 is 2. So d square is nothing but 1 ones, 14 14s, 11 11, 0 zeros and 2 2s. So you get a sum of d square as 322. Substitute that in the formula, you get the standard deviation of 8.02. Okay, then we will calculate for standard deviation for security B. Same way of average return for security B is 5. So D is nothing but a return minus of the average return. Return is 10 minus of average return is 5. So 10 minus 5 it is 5 minus 12 minus 5 it is minus 17. 14 minus 5 is 9. 5 minus 0 sorry 5 minus 5 is 0. 8 minus 5 is 3. So D square is 5 is 25. 17 289. Likewise you have to calculate the D square. You get sum of D square as 404. Substitute this value in the formula, you get 8.99, right? Next one is the covariance. So covariance, we will use the same formula, girls. Okay, so here there is no multiplication with P and division by P. We will follow the same formula. Okay, it is sum of DA. DA is nothing but it is R minus of AR1. Okay, RA, you can write it as RA minus of ARA, and DB is equals to RB minus of ARB. Okay, so they have written in the short form. Anyways, these two we have calculated in standard deviation itself. So 1 minus 14 1102, it is written as a DA, and then 5 minus 17 9 0 and 3 is written as DB. If you multiply these two, you get the total of 348. With this value, just substitute in the formula. 348 divided by 5, because division of n, right? N is total 5, so you get 69.6%. Okay, and the last one they asked you to calculate is the correlation between A and B. So the formula is covariance divided by standard deviation of A and B. Covariance is 69.6 divided by your standard deviation is 8.02 for security A and 8.99 for security B. So if you substitute that, you get the correlation as 0.965. Okay, girls, now we are going to see how to calculate standard deviation for a portfolio. So till now we saw how to calculate standard deviation for an individual security. Now we are going to see for a portfolio. For that, the formula is square root of x1 square standard deviation 1 square plus x2 square standard deviation 2 square plus 2x1 x2 into r12 standard deviation 1 and standard deviation 2. Now this x1 and x2 is nothing but the proportion, girls. Proportion for security 1 and proportion for security 2. Proportion is nothing but the weights, right? You remember we studied in ex ante, right? That is written with the proportion. That is what x1 and x2. Standard deviation 1 and standard deviation 2 is nothing but standard deviation for individual security 1 and security 2. Okay, and R12 is there, right? R12 is nothing but the correlation, girls. We just saw the formula for correlation, right? We will use that formula for calculating R12. The best part is that all the values will be given in the question. We just need to substitute those values in the formula. That's it, girls. Okay, so this is for the standard deviation of portfolio. See the next line, we have portfolio variance. We know standard deviation square is nothing but the variance, right? So for standard deviation we do with the square root, but for variance without the square root. That's it. That is the only difference. See, the formula is same but without the square root. X1 square standard deviation 1 square plus x2 square standard deviation 2 square plus 2x1 x2 into R12 standard deviation 1 and standard deviation 2. This is what formula for standard deviation of portfolio and variance of portfolio. Okay, now see the question, girls. Calculate the expected return and variance of portfolio comprising two securities. Okay, so they ask you to calculate variance of portfolio for the two securities, assuming that the portfolio weights are 0.75 for security 1 and 0.25 for security 2. Okay, these are nothing but the proportions. Okay, next is the expected return for security 1 is 18%. The return is 18% and standard deviation is 12%. While the expected return and standard deviation for security 2 is 12% and 20% respectively. So they have given expected return and standard deviation as well. So the correlation between two securities is 0.6. So R12 is there in the formula, right? So they have given that value. The correlation between two securities is 0.6. So in this question they asked you to calculate expected return and variance, right? First we will say expected return. Expected return is nothing but weights into your returns, right? See, weights is 0.75 into your expected return is 18. plus 0.25 into 22. So you get expected return as 19%. Okay, next is the variance of portfolio. So variance, we know it is nothing but the standard deviation square. So your formula will be x1 square standard deviation 1 square plus x2 square standard deviation 2 square plus 2x1 x2 into r12 standard deviation 1 and standard deviation 2. So x1 is nothing but the weights, right? So it is 0.75 into standard deviation 1 is 12% plus 0.25 into standard deviation 2 is 20% plus 2 into x1 and x2 is 0.75 and 0.25 into r12 is nothing but the correlation, right? It is 0.6 into standard deviation 1 is 12 and standard deviation 2 it is 20. So if you multiply this, you get 160. So the variance of portfolio is 160. In case if they ask you to calculate standard deviation, it is nothing but the square root, right? So square root of 160 is nothing but 12.6%. Normally standard deviation will be in percentage, girls, and variance will not be in percentage. See, return and risk are always in percentage. For risk we calculate standard deviation, that is the reason it will be in percentage, but variance will not be in percentage. We will see one more problem, girls. Consider two securities P and Q with expected return of 15% and 24% respectively, and standard deviation of 35% and 52% respectively. Calculate standard deviation of a portfolio weighted equally between two securities, and if the correlation is minus 0.9. So here they have given expected return for two securities as 15% and 24%, standard deviation as 35% and 52%, and they did not mention the weights, but instead they said as weighted equally. So equally means, can I say it is 0.5 and 0.5, because we know probability always totals to 1. So equally means 0.5 and 0.5, and the correlation is minus 0.9. So we know expected return is weights into the returns, right? So weights is 0.5 into 15 plus 0.5 into 24. So we get the expected return as 19. And in the question they asked you to calculate standard deviation. So it is nothing but square root of x1 square standard deviation 1 square plus x2 square standard deviation 2 square plus so on. So just substitute those values in the formula, girls, and you get the standard deviation as 12.7%. Okay. So this is all about your risk on portfolio, girls. Now we are going to see portfolio diversification. Okay, it is very simple, girls. So diversification is nothing but instead of investing in one securities, we are investing in more than one securities. So in that way we can reduce the risk, right? Now see the first point, girls. See, an investor would like to invest in more than one security, so has to reduce the risk. Second point, allocation of investable funds among the several eligible security to reduce the instability of the return is called diversification. That's it. Okay, third one, investor include more than one security in the portfolio to reduce the risk, and this act is called as the portfolio direction. That's it. Okay, the expected return of the portfolio depends upon the amount invested in the each security. Obviously, depending upon the amount which you are investing, you get the return, right? So the last one is that a portfolio of 10 to 15 security is considered to be an optimum portfolio. If you want a portfolio to be perfect, you should have minimum of 10 to 15 security in that portfolio. That's it, girls. This is all about your portfolio diversification. So the last topic in your synopsis is perfectly positively correlated, perfectly negatively correlated, and uncorrelated. First we will say perfectly positively correlated, girls. We just saw in the correlation topic, right? If it is if the correlation between two securities is 1, we call it as perfectly positively correlated. That is what we are going to see here, girls. See the first point, the security returns are said to be perfectly positively correlated when the correlation between the two securities is +1. Okay, so here the return of two securities move together in the same direction. And see the third one, an increase in the return of one security is accompanied with an increase in the return of another security proportionally. Okay, so diversification does not help in reducing the risk of the portfolio. So the risk of the portfolio would be very high. See, if it moves in the same direction, obviously the risk is very high. See, we know this, girls. Higher the return, higher the risk. See, if two securities moves in the same direction, meaning if two securities is having a higher return, it means there is a chance of a high risk. So the two securities should not move in the same direction. If it moves, it means there is a high risk. So that is what perfectly positively correlated. If the correlation between two securities is +1, then the risk is very high. That is what perfectly positively correlated is. Okay, next one is perfectly negatively correlated, meaning if the correlation between the securities is -1. So it means that the two securities are moving in the opposite direction. So obviously the risk is less in perfectly negatively correlated, because one is, say, one return is high, the other return is less, so it is like balancing, so the risk is also less here. Now see the first point, girls. The security returns are said to be perfectly negatively correlated when the correlation between two securities is -1. So here the return moves in the opposite direction. An increase in the return of one securities is accompanied with the decrease in the returns of another security. So diversification helps in reducing the risk of the portfolio. The risk of the portfolio is very low and are perfectly negatively correlated. And the last one is security returns uncorrelated, girls. So if the correlation between the two securities is 0, then we call it as uncorrelated. So the risk of the portfolio would be moderate, comparatively low, and uncorrelated. Okay, so that the diversification of a risk reduces in all cases except when securities are correlated. So this is all about your part 1 of your unit 4. So it starts with meaning of portfolio management. Then we saw meaning of portfolio analysis. And then we saw traditional versus modern portfolio approach. And then we saw return and risk of the portfolio. Then portfolio diversification we saw. And then we saw correlation, perfectly positively correlated, negatively correlated, and uncorrelated. Now part 2 is purely of Markowitz model, girls. So now we will see part 2 of unit 4, girls, that is Markowitz model. Okay, under part 2 we have the meaning of Markowitz model, assumptions of the model, parameters of the model, and the limitations of the model. Now we will start seeing the meaning of the Markowitz model. It's very simple, girls. Whatever we studied earlier, we are going to revise the same thing. See, under modern portfolio, what did we study? It studies the interrelationship between the two securities, right? That is what Markowitz model is also saying. Okay, and how he will measure the risk? By diversifying it, right? The same thing Markowitz model also said. See the first point, any rational investor would invest in more than one security, that is group of securities, in order to reduce the risk. Obviously when I am investing in more than one security, it means to reduce the risk. So Henry Markowitz developed the diversification model. This also we studied in the measurement of risk, right? So he developed the diversification model, which believes in maximizing the returns through a combination of securities. Okay, the next is the objective of diversification is to reduce the instability in the portfolio return. The model provides a theoretical framework for the analysis of risk and return choices. Obviously, we know for analysis we use both the risk and return. Okay, an efficient set of portfolio is determined through three important variables. This is important, girls. One is return, standard deviation, and coefficient of correlation. See, under modern approach, they are following three important variables, girls. One is return, the other one is the risk, which is nothing but the standard deviation, the other one is the coefficient of correlation. Therefore, this model is also called as full covariance model. This model is called as full covariance model. Okay, by ascertaining the trade-off between the risk and return, between the limits of 0 and infinity, the efficient set of portfolio is determined. Now this last point we will discuss in unit 5. Okay, so till full covariance model you just revise, that is more than enough. Okay, now we are going to see the assumptions of the model. So obviously whenever there is a theory, obviously there will be some assumptions. So the first assumption is that investment is made only for a specific period, and that we call it as a holding period. See, under Markowitz models, the investment should have a specific period. Okay, and investment is sold at the end of the holding period. Okay, so after that holding period, the investment should be sold. Okay, and sale proceeds from the investment are either spent for consumption purpose, that is for our own purpose, or for reinvest. Okay, the investment, that is the reward, the return which we get, we can use again for reinvestment as well. Hence the approach holds good for single period holding. So if you remember in unit 3 we saw, right, holding period return. In that we calculated for single period return and multiple period return, right? But Markowitz model is saying that it is good only for the single holding period. Okay. Next point is that all the investors are well informed about the stock market facts, that is efficient markets. Okay. Next, a selection of optimal portfolio is from amongst the possible portfolio. So when you're selecting the portfolio, right, it should be only among the possible portfolio which you created. See, we studied the portfolio analysis, right? We have taken example as 5 securities. With that 5 security, we can calculate n number of portfolios. From that 5 securities, how many portfolio we created, from that only we have to select the portfolio, girls. Okay, that is what they are saying. Selection of the optimum portfolio is from among a set of possible portfolios. Next one is investor expects certain returns, obviously, and investors are risk averse. Risk averse is nothing but they are the low risk takers. And last one is investors behave rationally, that is maximization of returns and minimization of risk. That is what every investor feel, right? They have to get. Okay, now we will see the parameters of the model, girls. See, you see the bullet points, that is more than enough to understand the parameters of the model. First one is reduce the standard deviation to 0. See, we know if the standard deviation is less, it means there is low risk. If the standard deviation is more, it means there is a high risk. So try to reduce the standard deviation to 0. By that way, we will be selecting the portfolio under your Markowitz model. Okay. Second one is negative interactive effect of the covariance between the securities in the portfolio. We saw the covariance, right? Covariance studies the interactive risk between the two securities, and we know that it can be either positive covariance or negative covariance. So the covariance should be negative. So in that way we have to select the portfolio. And the third parameter is that perfectly negatively coefficient correlated. Now this is nothing but perfectly negatively correlated. We just saw earlier, right? So the correlation between the two securities should be -1. So it means the two securities should move in the opposite direction. In that way the risk will be less. So these are the 3 points which we have to remember when you're selecting a portfolio. These are the 3 parameters which we have to consider under Markowitz model when you're selecting the portfolio. This is all about the parameters of the model, girls. And the last one is the limitations of the model. Okay, here the first point is the model is very tedious as too many mathematical calculations are involved, obviously. So we have to calculate risk, we have to calculate standard deviation, we have to calculate correlation, we have to calculate covariance. So it has a lengthy process, so it is very tedious. The second limitation under the Markowitz model is that the model is based on short-term volatility, meaning is that the price keeps on changing, right? So it's purely only for short-term in nature. Okay, and we saw in the assumption also, right, it consider only single holding period. Okay, so they are saying this as a disadvantage. And the next point is, so all investors need not be rational. Okay, what is rational? Maximizing the return, minimizing the risk, right? But there are few investors who are ready to face a high risk, and at the same time they get a higher return. So all investors need not be rational. Next one, markets are not perfect in reality, obviously. And then heavy transaction cost, as the portfolio has to be revised in order to achieve constant portfolio efficiency. But transaction cost is at sea. Obviously, to create a portfolio, we normal person cannot do that. Obviously, we have to depend on some portfolio managers. Okay, and apart from that, we have to keep checking whether our portfolio. We have to keep checking how was the progress of our portfolio. So it has a heavy transaction cost. Okay, and the last one is that no borrowing lending opportunities. So the Markovich model talks only about how to calculate risk, how to calculate the return, how to select the portfolio. That's it. Okay, but he is not talking about any borrowing or lending opportunities. See, if I want to invest, okay, yes, obviously I have to borrow, right? So this part he is not talking. So these are the limitations of your Markovich model.